fantastic, fantastic astral battle last night. Fantastic. And I just want to get right into it. Last night I got to celebrate a holiday with a large group of people, and there was a lot of alcohol, a lot of wine being passed around, and by the time I got home I could really feel that I was on the verge of an astral projection while still pretty buzzed. So I laid down and just let it happen, and it was one of the easiest ones that I've ever gone. I didn't have to be in a lucid dream and then astrally project, which I do pretty frequent. This was still very consciously aware, the full body buzz that just went from my lower body all the way up, and it wasn't even one where I projected from my third eye. I stepped outside of, literally rolled out of my body. My consciousness transferred straight over to my astral body without the tunnel. And I like the tunnel, I really do. This one was different, where I just kind of rolled out and I could see my physical body laying on the bed. And I did a really quick check. I went through my physical body, couldn't see anything that looked like it shouldn't belong. Even went over to a mirror. Now, I was real-time projecting, so as my physical body laid on the bed, I was moving about my room and seeing it through an astral vision, through my astral body, my astral vehicle, and I could see the things around certain ritual objects that really, you know, I was very happy to see that kind of energy just emanated and poured from these ritual objects that I have. And I went and directed a lot of that energy to my physical body just by kind of pulling at it and stretching it over. I wanted to really connect myself to that energy while I rested, because it's been an interesting couple weeks, especially the last couple weeks. So in doing that, I got this sudden urgency that I needed to be somewhere, and a spirit that I summoned years and years ago after finding it, contacting it, getting its sigil, and then developing sort of a relationship with it. This is a spirit that I've contacted that goes out and searches for certain amounts of information, and then about once every 3 or 4 months I'll summon the spirit to me and ask. It's almost like my own little web crawler, my astral web crawler in some way, where I'll ask it a question, and it'll go collect information, and then a couple months later I will summon it back and it'll tell me information that's found that's pertinent to my query. I asked, it appeared, and I asked, do you have something for me? Is there something I need to go do? And she said, yes, there is. And without even me really, I just kind of gave that telepathic acknowledgement that yes, I'm ready to do whatever I need to do. And I felt like in the astral world there really isn't a sense of distance or time, but this case I felt as though that I went through a huge amount of distance in a relatively short time, but I could feel the warp happen, this strange time warp feel that almost, really nauseated me. And I appeared on, it looked like a primordial earth almost, where there were giant crags, and it looked like ocean, like raw, fresh seawater was crashing with molten lava that was still bubbling up in pools, and there was large areas of like bubbling tar pits. And so I was half taken back, because I thought, wow, I'm really far projected into time. But the Spirit answered me back and said, no, you are now actually in a new world being forged. Like, they've gotten to the point where they're forging this new astral world that they're going to merge with the physical worlds and restart society. And it made sense. It made sense. And I said, oh, that's, this isn't good. And they said, no, this isn't good. And the Spirit, she pointed me off into the distance, and then suddenly we were within the view of this huge, almost mound that was moving. And as I got closer and closer, I could see, I want to say that thousands, doesn't even, millions even, of chained humans through the neck, connected by the neck, and their hands bound behind their backs. And they were pulling this massive obelisk behind them that had no wheels. They were just dragging it and being forced to drag it. And all around them were armored and very dedicated, disciplined-looking reptilian warriors. And they were whipping and kicking and biting and scratching any of the humans that misstepped or seemed as though they were too strong, or they were on the verge of dying anyways. They didn't want them too strong, because then they could fight, I guess. But if they were going to die, then they were just kind of dead weight and then could be eaten along the way. So this instantly set me into this rage that I mean, you'd have to feel it, like you feel like crying and your heart breaks, and you feel like these tears well up inside you, but then your blood flows and gets hotter and hotter, and it feels like you have this volcano inside you. And I was so angry, and I could look up, and on the top of this obelisk was this large, massively obese, almost like you would say like a Jabba the Hutt-esque lizard that was surrounded by not only, but here's the interesting part, is there were reptilian slaves as well, which confused me because I have never seen that or heard of that before. But he had reptilian slaves chained to like this large bondage vest that he wore, but he had many human women, children chained, and they were crawling all over his body, and he was slapping them and telling them to, and they were literally licking him from head to toe. And this was very, very much, this gross sexual-esque humiliation. And just step back from it. Sure, I know there are people out there that enjoy that power transfer, and maybe even groups that play this way, but those groups enter into it consciously. They're aware of what they're doing and can stop and leave if it gets too much. This is full-on sexual ownership, slavery. There is no choice. There is no choice. And this giant, bulbous, sweating, nasty, nasty lizard is just directing this and calling edicts down and making these humans drag this giant, which now I'm figuring out is a cornerstone. It's an important foundation for whatever it is being built to be built. And this is going to be a massive part of it. And my anger swells up so much that I know it all of a sudden it's fully aware of me. and I am screaming out to Thor and to Hercules that this must end. This must end, and I need to right now go and take care of this. And I could feel St. George. I could see him now on the horizon. I could feel thunder and lightning, and I could feel that start to go through my body. And it's like I'm trying to surf a volcano when Thor takes my head. There's so much power that I really feel at any point I could just burst open. That it's not very safe for me to try and contain all that Thor is. Because he's so powerful, he could just shred my astral body if I take on too much. But I'm always willing to do that. And I could feel the energies of Mars start to shift. And I could feel and I could see as I am projecting it out there, this is what we need. This huge army of Mars, of human warriors, begin to appear on this astral battlefield. And I'm screaming out to them, please save these human souls, ride up against these reptilian warriors, and take them down. Fuck them into the underworld. This needs to happen. And as this whole battle began to set into motion, I was screaming forward now, holding the hammer of Thor, holding all that energy in, and like a fucking Patriot missile, screaming towards that bulbous, you know, disgustingly obese reptile who now is fully aware and is now coming at me with all these human slaves being taken with him as they are dangling from this huge bondage vest that he's wearing that's chained all of them, and even the reptilian slaves, and he's whirling them over his head. I gotta do video too.